Good afternoon, Mr. and Mrs. Vine. Thank you for coming back to meet with me so I can show you my presentation. As you know, you hired me to review your Chambord Sun Wine Company social responsibility and kind of what it means to be a B Corp certified. So first of all, I reviewed Fetzler, which is a wine company you may or may have not heard about. It is in actually all over. It's in Chile, California, and it's a major wine company. You could buy their bottles of wine for $10. So Fetzler started in 1963. We're going to use them as the example moving forward. 1963, just with an earth-friendly wine grower mentality, which most agricultural people are earth-friendly. But Fetzler in 1990 decided to take a step further and start just tracking and reducing their waste. And just by knowing what their waste was and then taking steps to reduce it is kind of how they got started on the path that they're on now, which is a hallmark card of sustainability and a leader in protecting the environment and having a sustainable business. In 1999, they switched, one of the wineries switched to 100% renewable energy. It was the first winery in the US to do so. In 2005, they started reporting their greenhouse gas emission. This essentially just makes them accountable for what their actions are and the transparency there that is required in a B Corp. In 2014, they became zero waste certified. So they are trained professionals at reducing waste, and they also became B Corp certified. They were not the first winery to become B Corp certified, but they are the largest in the U.S. B Corp certified. In 2016, they became certified carbon neutral, and they also installed a natural water waste system. And a water waste system essentially helps them reduce the amount of water that they're using to produce grapes because it takes a lot, and reusing that water so it's not ever being dropped down. So for your wine company to be successful, the environment has to be a priority, or else what's the point? If grapes are a very sensitive crop, and after doing some research, I found out that with global warming, the heat actually causes the grapes to be harvested sooner than they typically would have in the past 60 years. And the problem is the higher the temperature of the grape, the more sugar that is in the grape, and that creates more alcohol. And the business is changing because of this. So there's places in the world that would not have been able to produce grapes that are now able to produce grapes, and you're trying to keep the grapes shadier. And if the world temperature continues to rise, grapes are going to be harder and harder to grow. People are experimenting with new grapes, and because of all this, it sounds like a scary thing, but it's actually a great time to start in this industry because so many people are learning at the same time and growing and developing their skills. Now, what you guys can do is be the change for the future in the environment and hopefully help other wineries understand how important the environment is in reducing climate change and waste. So what we need to do together is create a sustainable business that won't hurt the environment, and that's what you're looking to do. And then within that business, create the culture and education on the sustainable practices, and always come up with continuous improvement and drink good wine. So what we need to do first is research. I've gathered basic information here. You guys need to make some decisions before we can continue doing some research. We need to figure out, you need to gain as much information about the wine practices in the industry and probably visit some other wineries and talk with people how they got started. And then you probably need to come talk to some other agricultural farmers and research and learn what sustainable practices are in that industry. You don't want to just learn about the grape, but you also want to learn what it is to be a sustainable business. Um, so create your short-term and long-term goals, and then we really need to start looking at what kind of property you want to buy. Does it need to be developed, made? If you want to build, are we going to build with solar panels? Are you going to have these systems in place when you build? What's the budget like? Do we need to look for a location where this is our long-term goals and we want to start with our short-term goals of sustainability of just tracking and reducing, and long-term goals, you know, 100% renewable energy as your property grows. Now, as I said, research on sustainable practices, this is key because there's so many things to learn here, and it's not just about your business. It'll be creative ways on how to reduce waste altogether. So you've heard reduce, reuse, recycle. Well, zero waste professional call it redesign, reduce, and reuse. Reuse everything, compost what you cannot. Um, Recycling is a wonderful thing, but it's still creating waste, and it has to be essentially go through another process to be reused. And sometimes I know in my local recycling center, they won't even take it because the market isn't good enough to make a profit off the recycling. All right. I think so. Fetzler, if you look at their history, they started very small, and that's where you guys need to start. Take a deep breath. I know it's overwhelming, but what can you do now to start reducing your waste? I recommend going on the United Nations Certified Emission Reduction, and you can actually take a survey to see what your company would produce and what you guys are producing in your own home. So you can actually start this now before you even move, before you buy the winery, and make sure this is right for you and that we're doing everything we can to save the environment. So they also offer ways to help you, ideas on reducing your emissions and your waste. And actually, the Certified Emissions Reduction Program, you can, if there's something you can't get rid of or you can't reduce, it just has to be in your industry. There are programs that you can essentially like buy credits for, and they go to these other sustainable programs. And actually, doing this research, I went through and did a donation to something near and dear to my heart. So that was a great thing to find. So, moving on. Fetzler goals of 2020. These are just examples of where they are and where they're going. We want them to be accountable and be upfront about the shortcomings. It's not all about being excellent as soon as you start. Now, this is another employment and skill development. You guys want to be engaged in the community, and I think this is the best way to do it. You know, we only have one planet. You hear people say that all the time, but if you can develop skills in sustainable processes and sustainable business and pass that on to the younger generation coming up, or new people to the business, or just someone who doesn't know, that's a great position to be in and develop these skills with people, because they don't just apply to wine or grapes or agriculture. It's all businesses, and it's a great skill to know and have. And you're not just learning about the wine industry, you're learning about all these things. I really strongly feel that you guys should look into doing internships with the high school and making sure that these kids are seen as asset to the business, and they're working towards helping your business in any way that you would have a regular associate working. So, B Corp certification. As you know, the B Corp certification, I just put in here about what B Corp is about, But after you do your B impact assessment, they will tell you what your score is. After you get your score, those are the things that you need to work towards to change. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's 100%. B Corp helps you come up with ideas and realize things that you can do better. And we need to do better. We need to try to be better. Continuous improvement is so important in this type of work. So these are my basics, basic research for you guys. I think it's a doable process and you're going to do great. So if you have any questions or comments, please let me know. I attached some resources at the sources and resources at the end of the presentation to help you get started. Stuff that I found interesting while I was preparing for this. So I just want to say thank you and good luck, and call me if you need anything. Thanks.